In this video, we will show you how to construct the dominant ninth chord and then use it in chord progressions. You just heard a C dominant ninth chord. Dominant ninth chords are written in notation with a 9 next to the letter. There is no Dom or D. There are several types of ninth chords that you may have heard of. This can cause confusion, but just know that the dominant ninth is only one of these chords. How do we construct a dominant ninth chord? Chords are created by using notes from a scale. The major chords are created with 3 notes from the major scale: first, third, and fifth. To create a dominant 7th chord, we take these 3 major chord notes and add a flat or minor 7th note from the major scale. A dominant ninth uses the dominant 7th chord notes and adds a 9th note from the major scale. You may be thinking that there are only 7 notes in the major scale, so where does this 9th note come from? Let's clarify this with an example. The C major scale has the following notes: C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. If we continue the scale after the 7th note B, then we simply repeat the notes again. This second set of notes is an octave higher than the first set of notes. So if we assign a number to each note, you can see that although the letter names repeat, the numbers continue to rise to indicate this higher pitch. That means that our 9th note is a D note, exactly the same as the second note, but it is an octave higher, so we add 7 and it becomes a 9th. If you would like further help with these concepts, then check out our intervals video in the description below. Now that we understand the numbering system, let's construct some chords. To create a C major chord, we take the first, third, and fifth, which gives us C, E, and G. The 7th note in the scale is B. The flat 7th note is therefore half a step or a semitone below this, which is B flat. So in order to create a C dominant 7th chord, we take the C major chord notes and add the flat 7th from the scale. This means that C dominant 7th has the notes C, E, G, and B flat. As we discussed earlier, the 9th note is D. Therefore, to create a C dominant 9th chord, we take the C dominant 7th chord notes and add the 9th note, which gives us C, E, G, B flat, and D. Let's have a listen to C major, C dominant 7th, and C dominant 9th played after one another to appreciate the difference. The dominant 9th could be considered less stark than the dominant 7th. Where the dominant 7th feels particularly bluesy, the dominant 9th can feel more mellow or relaxed. Dominant 9th chords are used heavily in blues, jazz, and sometimes even in rock music. They also have an association with funk. How can we use the dominant 9th chords? The traditional use of the dominant chords is as the 5 chord in major keys. However, because of its use in the blues, jazz, and funk, you may have heard it used as chords 1 and 4 as well. If you have seen or used dominant 7th chords in chord progressions, then you can simply replace them with the dominant 9th chords with no issues at all. Let's start with the main use of the dominant chords, which is as the 5 chord. The dominant 9th has an extremely strong desire to resolve, so it is useful at the end of a turnaround while we are going back to the 1 chord. Please note that our examples will be in the key of C major. If you want to transform your songwriting, then use the ultimate musical sketchpad, HookPad. We use HookPad to show you chord progressions and melodies in our videos because it is easy to use and intuitive. Click the link in the description below and see what HookPad can do for your music. You can also use the dominant 7th alongside the dominant 9th chords. If we use our previous example, we can see this idea in action. classic way to use dominant chords is with the 12-bar blues. In this example, we will use the dominant ninth chords as 1, 4, and 5. The influence of the blues on popular music means that you may have heard these chords in progressions more widely. The 5 dominant ninth chord shares all of the notes with the 2 chord. This means that 2 can be a good lead into the dominant 9-5 chord. For example, we can also use the major ninth with the dominant ninth. If you'd like some help with the major ninth chord, there's a link in the description below. Here we alternate chord types on the 1 chord. This creates a sense of movement before moving to the 4 chord. You can also return to the major ninth rather than the 4 chord. You can experiment beyond 1, 4, and 5 dominant ninths if you would like. The key to songwriting is experimenting and using ideas that sound good to you. Trust your ear. For example, you could change the 2 chord to a dominant ninth to create an interesting sound. The dominant 7th chords are extensively used in music. Click the video on screen now to better understand this interesting chord and see how closely it is related to the dominant ninth.